Hey, what's going on YouTube? So today I'm going to showcase my Endgame Magicka Templar build for the Scribes of Fate DLC patch. This build is capable of pulling over 122k on the parse dummy and is viable for most group content. As with all endgame builds, it will be a group focused build that revolves around using trial or best in slot gear, so it is not a beginner or solo friendly build. With that being said, here we go. So as per usual, very quickly, starting off in the character sheet, I have 64 points in a Magicka, and I'm running the Thief Mundus. For the race, we're a High Elf. I think High Elves have some of the best racial passives for Magicka DPS. For the food, we're just going to be using the standard food, which is going to be Clockwork Citrus Fillet for anything hard. A cheaper and easier to acquire option would be Witch Mother's Potent Brew. And lastly, if you're parsing or just flat out want more sustain, Ghastly Eyeball is always the go-to. So for potions, because we're going to be running Major Sorcery and Major Prophecy on both bars through skills, we're going to resort to using either Heroism or Tri-Stat potions. Heroism potions do cost a lot to make, but do increase your DPS ever so slightly, while Tri-Stat potions will help you sustain both your main and off resource. So for CP, for the blue tree, we're going to be running Exploiter, Deadly Aim, Thaumaturge, and Wrathful Strikes. Swap out Exploiter if you don't have access to off balance or you need more crit damage. Something like Fighting Finesse or Backstabber would work just fine. And for the red CP, we have Rejuvenation, Fortified, Boundless Vitality, our three main important ones. And then this is a flex spot. I have Sustained by Suffering, but you can honestly run whatever you feel like. So for the gear, we're going to be running 5 pieces of Deadly paired with 5 pieces of Reliquin, Black Rose Prison Daggers, and a Zaan's Monster set. So breaking it down in the main hand, we have a Deadly Dagger, Nurnhone with a poison damage enchant. In the offhand, Charged with a shock damage enchant. For the back bar, we have Black Rose Prison Daggers. Main hand is infused with a flame damage enchant, and offhand is infused with a weapon damage enchant. For the head and shoulders, we have 2 pieces of Zaan, 1 light, 1 medium, both in divines with max mag enchants. For the rest of the body, we have 5 pieces of Reliquin, all traded in divines with max mag enchants. And for the jewelry, 3 pieces of Deadly Jewelry, all bloodthirsty with weapon and spell damage enchants. So for the skills, I'm just going to briefly go over them. We're running Power of the Light. It does a little bit of initial damage, and then after 6 seconds, it explodes, dealing even more damage. Puncturing Sweep are spammable, also heals you. Radiant Oppression, super strong execute. Barb Trap for the minor force and hemorrhaging and does good damage. Degeneration, this is our source of major sorcery. And Flawless Dawnbreaker, slotted as a passive and also an ult to use during execute so that your beams do more damage. And on the back bar, Ritual Retribution, really strong dot. Do not recast this early because the damage ramps up. Deadly Cloak to proc our Black Rose Prison Daggers and also does good damage. Blazing Spear is here for the passive for the crit damage and does okay damage. Plus it offers a really nice synergy as well. Scalding Rune here for just an extra dot. You can honestly replace this with whatever you feel like. I just found Scalding to work good. And lastly, Vamp Bane. This is here for the major savagery and prophecy it gives. And it also lasts a really long time. And our ultimate, Shooting Star. This is probably one of the best ultimates for single target stationary fights. So for the rotation, we're going to be running a dynamic rotation, meaning we're going to keep up skills as they fall off. The priority of skills to keep up are going to be Degeneration, Vampire's Bane, Deadly Cloak, Barbed Trap, Power of the Light, Ritual Retribution, Blazing Spear, and Scalding Rune. And then when you don't have any dots to cast, use your spammable, Puncturing Sweep until about 40%, and then swap to Radiant Oppression. And then whenever your ultimate Shooting Star is ready, you could just drop that whenever. Once you are in a beaming phase though, make sure you start using Flawless Dawnbreaker over Shooting Star because the buff to execute is really strong. And as with all Templar builds, try not to swap off of jabs and beam. Instead, use Power of the Light or other dots to bar swap. And then at 25%, stop using your spear or rune. And then at 10%, drop all dots and just beam. So for closing thoughts, the reason I'm running daggers on the back bar is just because I didn't want to run Maelstrom Greatsword. You can also go Inferno Staff if you prefer that route. And in terms of gear alternatives, you can go something like World of Depths, Boss A, or Soria for a light armor build, meaning you'll have more penetration and you'll do a little bit less damage, but sometimes the penetration is necessary in certain groups. Berserking Warrior is not a bad set at all, although you do have to run it in weapons and jewelry. And as a replacement for medium armor for Reliquin, you can use Aegis Collar or find a way to use Coral Riptide. And as always, as a budget build, you can go something like Order's Wrath and Julianos and you'll do just fine. That wraps up the build explanation section of this portion. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, or better yet, come join our Discord. Link is in the description. I will have a written guide attached in the description for those who would prefer that. And as always, thank you to my YouTube members. If you want to help me support my content creation, please consider becoming a member. And as always, thanks again, and see you in the next one.